channel is little bitty bitty, but you got to start somewhere. Thank you guys for being here so much. Please give us a like. Half of you have already liked it, so thank you. But please give us a like and share this out. I tweeted it out on our main account, Echo Base Network, and put it on the community and Facebook groups. So it is all out there. So at this time, let me bring in, he didn't know it, he just got promoted, the producer of this channel too, Matt Risman. What up?
What's up? Resistance is futile. You will be assimilated.
Yeah, you didn't know that you were the producer of this channel too, did you?
Well done. My pleasure.
Well,
my pleasure.
Hey, that's what we do. Hey, look who it is. All right. She's here. Good to see you, Nikki. That 80s room, what is going on? Good to see you as well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, he's here. He's usually against us, but he's not tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, that Junkman.
Hold your applause. Hold your applause. I don't know if y'all can read my ugly handwriting. It says, give YouTube, give Geeky Gamers their ads. Give Geeky Gamers their ads.
That's the wrong there, but it is cool. We did it. It's the EIR, but it's okay.
Had to give it that Junkman touch.
You did. That's great.
And I didn't ask you, but I just started streaming it on my channel. Do you mind?
Not at all.
Okay, I didn't know I could do that at the same time, so I figured we'd do it.
You could stream snipe this. Anybody can stream snipe this. So everybody over at the Junkman's channel, welcome to Coach's Archives. This is my brand new channel. It's been out 3 weeks. It's not nearly as fandom menace as Echo Base Network. Obviously, because we're talking about something that we actually liked today.
Finally,
Indiana Jones 5. So
somebody on YouTube that likes it. I hope Nikki don't find out you like it. She's gonna get on here and
Nikki.
She's here. She's here. She's watching. She knows.
So I talked to Nikki earlier today. She has not watched it. She hasn't seen an Indiana Jones movie in years. So she really doesn't have any interest. She didn't have any interest.
That's why I flopped. The young kids don't care about it.
What is up? Strike 7171. What up? Ronnie is in the house as well. Thank you guys so much for being here on my channel. So really appreciate it. So all right, and look, I wanna make sure the chat knows what we're doing here. This is a roundtable discussion. We're going to go through some of the news articles about Indiana Jones, but the three of us all like the movie. We're going to have different opinions for sure, but we're going to talk about the movie. It's going to be a spoiler conversation, so please know that. And look at Chris. It's less fandom menace because of no Nick.
Oh no! Oh dear.
Well, Nick will be coming to the channel for sure, just not tonight because he hadn't seen it. So otherwise,
is he gonna see it? Last I heard, he said he wasn't gonna see it.
He ain't gonna see it.
He's gonna
see a bootleg of it.
He's gonna download it. Yeah,
I'm gonna go buy a ticket. I'm buying a ticket in his name tomorrow.
Achilles Jones is here as well. Good to see everybody. Thank y'all so much for being here. So, all right. Oh, and one other thing, because I like the balanced approach. I'm copying 2 channels. How am I copying? I don't. Explain that to me. Explain that to me.
I have no idea.
I don't look, I'm a creator. I don't copy anything. All right. So I want this to be balanced. So if anybody is watching live, if you've seen the movie, that's a prerequisite. If you've seen the movie and you didn't like it and have major disagreements with us, I'm going to open the phone lines and let you guys call in. And just to, keep it fun, you might want to get after Junkman or Risman or me. But even though I'm the nice one. All right. Unless I'm typing. All right.
Responding to comments.
Yeah. I'm going to quit doing that, by the way. I'm just going to be nice from now on. I'm turning the vengeance off on comments. I'm done. Junkman, I have been killing people on comments. They come at me and I come after them times 10.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it.
Well, I'm done with it. I'm going to start being kind again. So,
all
right. Indiana Jones 5. I want to start with Junkman because he saw it day one. He's already seen it twice. and just take us through, your reaction. What did you expect? Did it meet your expectations? Go.
Well, my expectation was better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and it was better than the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I still have the problems with it. It wasn't the best movie. It's nowhere near the other three, but I knew going in it wouldn't be because I saw them as a kid, so I knew there was no way they can compare to them. But I had fun. I took my son who loves Indiana Jones. It was his first time seeing a new one at the theater. He liked it, saw it twice already. So I had fun taking him, letting him experience that, but it was a little too long. That was my biggest gripe. It was too long. The second half, the end part, I know you had a problem with. I liked it better the second time. It didn't bother me. So
okay.
I'm curious if you see it again, how you feel about it. But yeah, it was too long, a little too much CGI stuff. Sometimes it wasn't necessary. And other than that, I had a good time. I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna say like it's the best movie ever, but hey, it's better than She-Hulk.
Out of 10, what do you give it?
A 10. Well, let's say Raiders is a 10. I think we all agreed Raiders is the best.
No.
Oh, Last Crusade.
No.
He likes Temple of Doom.
Oh, I love Temple of Doom. It's my second favorite.
Temple of Doom is the best Indiana Jones movie, hands down. It's not.
Well, I think Raider. Finally,
Temple of Doom is
I don't know why it gets so much hate.
Temple is an 11 out of 10 for me. It is my favorite movie after the original trilogy.
Really? Now, see, I like it, but I like Raiders a little better. But Temple of Doom is more fun for me to watch. But I'm glad someone else is not hating on Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom is my favorite.
Thank you. Okay. Well, let's say Temple of Doom's your 10. I give Raiders is my 10. I give the new one 7.5.
Okay. All right.
Maybe Crystal
We're all about the same. I think that's a rating.
I think that's where Richmond was at too.
Yeah.
Right. So, and look, that was a very simple, non-spoilery take, but we're going to get into the spoilers in just a little bit too, and really go through the movie. But Richmond, your initial thoughts and reactions as well.
Yeah. So I'm with Junkman. I wanted to go in liking it more than Crystal Skull. And I also think I did a bit too much preconditioning myself not to like it, just because everything was so horribly negative in advance of it, whether it was early reviews or the box office or just the leaks or the all of those things kind of piled up. And I'm like I've kind of gotten on myself into the situation where I was like, I'm expecting to actually sit down in this movie and not like it. And it was, for me, it was the opposite. I had a really good time watching this film. It impacted me a couple of times on an emotional level. And I found myself, not wanting to get up and take a break. I found myself like really zoned into what was going on. And then again, as you all have said, the last act is not something that I was expecting, although thinking back about it on a couple of things and then reading one of the articles I sent you about how it was telegraphed from the beginning, I'm kind of like, well, maybe I should have expected it. But just because, the Dial of Destiny was used or was being used as a very specific plot point for the antagonist, and for it to end up manifesting its way in how it did at the end, I found it to be unexpected. So for me, I came out of the movie very satisfied for the time that I spent. I agree it could have been shorter. I agree they spent too much money on it, but again, some of that is the aggregated duration of how long it took. Some of it is how much they had to pay the people who were involved. There was a lot that went in to this film from a production standpoint, but I thought it looked great. And a lot of it was filmed on location, and some of the rest of it, which we're not so used to seeing that so much here recently. So for me, I'm very happy that I saw it in the Dolby Theater, and I was really, really happy with that experience.
Now you liked it better than Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as well.
I did. Yes.
but it wasn't as good as the original 3 movies.
And no, but for me, I think my biggest, I go back and forth between Temple of Doom and The Last Crusade, but I think the reasons why I tend to gravitate towards The Last Crusade as my favorite of the original trilogy is wholly focused around the chemistry that Harrison Ford and Sean Connery had together. Other than that, I'm not sure it was the greatest. I'm not sure it was the greatest of the stories. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm not sure it was even that excellent of a movie. But them together for me really made that one. You know, I just recently saw Raiders on re-release when they had it back out those couple of days. So for me, I had seen Raiders in the theater, and then I went right into seeing Dial of Destiny. And I will say that there's still no comparison, right? Even from the time frame, Raiders still holds up very well on the big screen. And I mean, seeing them almost back to back or within the space of a month or so, it's still a whole different, you know what I mean? It's still a whole different thing. I would watch Dial of Destiny again. I've watched Crystal Skull twice, and for me, that was enough.
So when I watch a movie that I want to be good, you know what I mean? When I've got like I'm going to see Indiana Jones, I'm going to see, you know, whatever, Terminator or whatever, which that's a bad example because I have no preconceived notions that a Terminator movie will be good now. But you want Indiana Jones to be good. And when I'm sitting there watching it, in my subconscious, I'm not even aware that I'm doing it. I'm kind of gauging what kind of rewatchability does this movie have. The higher the rewatchability, obviously, the better movie it is for you. You know what I'm saying? If it's something that I can watch again and again, like the original trilogy or like Tron Legacy or like Bloodsport, you know, I've probably seen Bloodsport 300 times. You know, I'd love that movie. The movie's better for you. So what kind of rewatchability does this movie have for you guys? I will say this. As somebody who watched it, I gave it a 7 out of 10. It was much better than I had anticipated looking at my friends' reviews. People like Ryan, whom I respect. You know,
we're shills now, Coach. We become shills. We become shills.
People like I love it. People like Gary. You know, I saw Gary's tweet and I was like, I have no reason to think that I'm not going to agree with everything that Gary said. But when I went and watched the movie, I didn't. You know, I sat there and watched it and I was like, man. Now, the thing about the rewatchability, though, I could see myself watching this a couple more times. 2 or 3 times probably at the most before I die. Okay? I'll watch Temple of Doom 30 more times before I die if I live a long life. You know what I'm saying? I'll watch Raiders 15 or 20 more times. But
we're losing them, Coach. You're trying to build the channel up. We're losing them at the outset.
You're trying to grow this new channel. It's woke. I hated it. It's woke.
I'm gonna tell you what I think. So, what kind of rewatchability did you guys think that this movie had for you?
Well, one thing, I don't watch really long movies, so I don't know if I'll sit down and watch it. But I think it's more my age. I don't really watch stuff over and over again. Crystal Skull, I've seen about 200 times, I think. My son was really into it, so I had to watch it every day.
You watched it how many times?
A lot. He watched it every day for like 3 months.
Oh, talk about torture.
Oh, how old was your son in 2008?
It's just the last 30 or 40 minutes of that movie that gets me.
It's horrible.
Once it gets into the monkey swing and everything, I can't watch it. But I like the beginning of it. But
yeah,
it's Indiana Jones I can watch. But it's one of the movies I'll put on. I don't know if I'll sit down and watch it, but I can see I put it on and do. Well, I would say clean up around the house, but I ain't clean up my house. I ain't married, so I'll put it on. But I probably won't sit down and watch it much. It's just too long. They could have cut out some action scenes and cut it down to about 30 minutes.
I got you.
I would rewatch it again, Coach. On Junkman's point, would I rewatch it on repeat? No. but I wouldn't mind watching this movie again at least a few more times, because I'm sure there are some things that I did miss on the first watch, because there was a lot going on. This isn't right, wrong, or indifferent. Some would argue it's not a good thing, but the movie kept going, right? And they went a lot of places, right? And they kept going, and different, and it's happening, and it's going, and all these things. And at some point, you're kind of like, all right, I'm a little confused about where all they've gotten to and why they're there. But I'm
are you saying it felt like the beginning of Rogue One?
No, Rogue One. Okay. For me, Rogue One was a lot easier to follow.
Man, my head was spinning. Rogue One.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like, for me, it's the same kind of experience I had in a way, for a different reason, with Across the Spider-Verse. Right? There's just so much going on. You don't want to miss anything, and so as a result, you just can't. You find yourself not being able to zone in on everything appropriately. So for me, it's worth at least another watch. And then again, they put it on Disney Plus, or they made it readily available streaming somewhere. I would put it in as a comfort movie. I wouldn't have any problem with that.
Yeah.
I think, because you touch on Rogue One, so I think I feel about the same with Rogue One. After I saw Rogue One 4 times, I said, I don't ever have to see this movie again. So I was done with it. Yeah, I didn't have much of a rewatchable, except for the last part of it.
I like Rogue One, but I kind of feel the same way. It doesn't have a really high rewatchability for me.
Yeah.
Well, it has the best space battle in all of Star Wars.
Yeah, the last half I can watch. The Vader and
Coach.
Stop it.
Coach not like the battle either.
All right, so I was just about to say that.
He's going to come out. Ryan's going to come out of the closet.
Especially when we finish the conversation, people who disagree. They can call, but I am definitely going to open up a spot here on the panel for Ryan right now.
The voice of reason. Trike says,
"Bring he said he could come out."
Yeah, exactly. Hey, let's do it. I love Ryan, so he's going to come in here and thrash us. Didn't you tell on me today? Didn't you tattletale on me?
Yes, he's Ryan. The only one. He's the only leader of the Phantom Menace that will read my tweets, so I have to tweet it to him.
I think
that. Keep the gamer kid put me on mute.
Oh my gosh!
There's no way I'm ever going to get to 800. So I mean, I can just read all the ones I want. So, I saw that earlier.
Yeah, he should be here in just a
They're
second.
probably having a pity party. Another one bites the dust, and they're pointing out their Kathleen Kennedy tear mugs because they lost Coach.
So while Ryan's about to come in, I've got several articles pulled up. And this is where we were, he's here. Let's bring him in, everybody. Everybody, welcome to my little bitty channel that I just started. RK Outpost, Ryan Kennel. Let's go. What's up?
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up,
yes,
Ryan?
I saw someone said Crystal Skull is bad, and I just had to come running because listen, Junkman thinks I'm toxic. Junkman thinks all this, but he knows I had his back the other day because I truly am the only one that reads his tweets. Yeah. For some reason, they just won't stop popping up in my feed. It's annoying. I almost never interact with them, though. I almost always read them. But yes, I saw you told on Coach. But you said the other day that Crystal Skull gets too much hate or something.
It does get too much. I don't hate it.
And I said yes. And so now I'm here to defend it from all these guys who I don't know. Listen, I don't think this movie is a 0 out of 10 or something. I don't think it's the worst movie ever made. I think there's a lot about it that is competent. I feel like it's James Mangold attempting to do a Steven Spielberg impersonation. All the while, a character starts off deconstructed for literally no reason.
The reason, I can give you the reason. You have to make him down so you can have a happy ending at the end. If he's already happy and already perfect at the end of the movie, it just ends on a note where he's just back where he started.
Well, the problem is he is back where he started. He's back where he started, right when you get the ending for Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Minus, are we talking about spoilers?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Minus the fact that they killed off Mutt in an absolutely meaningless way, right? And there was that's the crazy thing too for Harrison Ford, who was very willing at the end to stay there and forsake time and destroy the timeline or whatever. At no point in time was he ever even considering actually using that thing to potentially go back and change his son. Like, he answered that question, but no point did he really consider it. So I don't know. To me,
they didn't have really time to think about it.
He had plenty of. Did you sat through this movie? Everybody had plenty of time to think about.
I mean, once he found out
that
it actually worked, he didn't have much time to.
Every time Antonio Banderas was on camera, we had time to think about it because that was pointless.
It wasn't much. Yeah, he wasn't there much.
Oh,
Look,
he was
Ryan,
supposed to be the villain. I remember the leaks. He was supposed to be the villain, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of leaks.
Oh no! What? How many of those things you? How many of those things did you print off?
Oh, I'm cutting that. That's good.
Oh, no.
That's good. All right, so guys, I want to get everybody's opinion on this. I went into the movie thinking, man, because I heard it all. You know, I tried to stay away from the spoilers, but hearing people's non-spoiler reviews, people saying Phoebe Waller-Bridge stole the show. Indy played second fiddle to her. She's, you know, whatever. It's too much. I hate her. And then I saw Gary's tweet that said Phoebe Waller-Bridge is basically done in Hollywood. She'll never work again. Like, it was so bad. So I watched the movie expecting that, but I never felt that. I didn't like the part where she punches Indy at the end of the film. Yeah, I wanted Indy to go back to the present time. No doubt about it. But for her to knock him out unconscious, I know he's 80 years old, but come on, man.
He's been getting hit by a lot of Nazis throughout his entire life.
Well, he was dying. He was losing blood for like 30 minutes.
Oh.
Well, what was y'all's take on just her performance, just her? Do you agree with what people were saying, or did you see it differently?
I have to tell you, I had to get past two things in this film at the outset. I had to get past her reminding me of L337 the whole time, right? Because I never watched Fleabag, right? So for me, my biggest Phoebe Waller-Bridge experience was her playing the droid in Solo, right? Not the best part of that movie, clearly. And then secondly, loving Harrison Ford in the Shrinking series, where he plays a comedic role where he has Parkinson's in that movie, in that series, and some other things going on what they really lean into, but he has such a very specific persona that he plays in that series. So I had to put both of those things to the side as I sort of zoned into the roles that they were playing here. And I thought she was fine, right? I didn't particularly care for the punch out scene either at the end, but I understand why she did it, just like I understand why he wanted to stay there. Right. So again, I really expected to come away hating her performance a lot more than I did. Mm-hmm. And I probably hated the replacement Short Round's performance. Bless the actor, because I've seen him interviewed. He may be on the spectrum, which is fine, right? But there's something. But
that's why he's able to figure out how to fly a plane.
There was just some parts about that performance that I found a little bit over the top cringy in comparison to the main cast. That would probably be my worst performance.
So let's talk about him next. Yeah, I've got some things I want to say about him as well. Junkman, Ryan, thoughts on Phoebe Waller-Bridge?
I went in also thinking I wasn't going to like her character. You know, hearing things that went from Beancock.
You actually. Wow.
Well, I mean, I agree with the Phantom Menace sometimes. I say, okay,
influenced by our people.
I was like, no, I mean, I agree with y'all sometimes. Like, here she's gonna come in, she's gonna be the female that knows everything, and he's gonna do it. So I thought that, and I liked that they gave her a deeper character where she was like the Belloc of the movie. You know, she had a lot more in common with Belloc than she did Harrison Ford or Indiana Jones, at least at the beginning, all about the money and all about selling it. So I like she was a little deeper character. Now, was she grew on me at the beginning? I didn't like her, but you ain't supposed to like her until later in the movie. And she wasn't that. I mean, she did her job. She did, acting was fine. And everything else. Is she as good as Marion and Willie Scott? No, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that in terms of the performance itself, I'm not going to sit here and fault Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I think the intent of the performance, it was to be kind of an insufferable know-it-all, and she nailed that. That's what they were going for. That's why they cast her in this role. But to me, I don't think there was enough shown to me in this movie that she's like, she did come back at the end and save Indy after all the things that they'd been through. She came back at the end and tried to save Indy. But for me, so much of the entirety of the movie, she could have been humbled a little bit at some point in time. And I don't think she was virtually ever. And that was the biggest problem to me. I'm not saying that she has to be an idiot. I'm not saying she has to know nothing like Willie in Temple of Doom or something. But what we see, because this is the Indiana Jones franchise, in all of the Indiana Jones movies, you have the sidekicks or the tag-alongs or whoever that get wrapped up in these things that they don't know everything Indy knows. They're not able to fight as well as Indy can fight, but they have things that they're able to contribute along the way. A lot of times that results in saving Indiana Jones's life, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And that's completely fine. That's normal. Indy finds himself in these situations where he needs this random super lucky thing to happen, and this person just happens to be in the right place at the right time. That's normal. So I don't have a problem with her saving him a couple times, things like that. I have a problem with virtually everything. It's like Harrison Ford didn't need to be there. Indiana Jones didn't need to be there for this. She would have figured it out.
She would have died because she didn't know how to get out of that tomb.
Which one?
With the gas in it.
Yeah, exactly. Harrison, that was his one contribution was, hey, we have to just put a bunch of things here and displace enough water. And it ended up being, I don't even know if it's a water displacement or if he just put enough weight on the thing and it sinks. But even a moment where they could have been like, hey, maybe you don't know everything, was where they argued about what type of cipher the one thing was going to be in. And of course she was right about that too. And to me, it was just over the top in terms of showing how unequipped Indy is for this at this point in time and how well equipped she is to handle everything. Whether that's
you know about the bubblegum trick.
That's true. Indy used some old man skills to fix the tuk-tuk. Is that what they call those things?
Yeah.
To fix the tuk-tuk, to limp them to where they needed to go.
And I thought it was going to break down and she was going to say, I told you so. I was waiting for that and it never happened. I was waiting for it.
It did the movie gave off the feeling of that for sure. Yeah. I think I've been saying this a lot on basically every stream I've gone to. I think there's ways to make this, in my opinion, work a lot better. And one of the biggest things is have her come to Indy in a little bit more humble way. She literally tried to kill him multiple times. Not necessarily tried to kill him other than actually telling people that, hey, police to shoot him. But when we meet her, she tricks him into buying the story that she's spinning, and she locks him in the room with those guys who are actively shooting at them. That's trying to kill him.
Yeah. Yeah, she wasn't a good person.
She's a terrible person, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they should have something where you actually saw her why she changed it, it made her better then. There was kind of a missing that come to Jesus moment, you could say.
Yeah, like that to me, that I didn't get that part of it. There was no sense that she was humbled. It was just she felt like she needed to go and save Indy, but there was never any growth to that moment, I guess. And then it did just give an opportunity for her to be superhero going through on a motorcycle 100 miles an hour in the fucking route. Sorry, I can't swear.
You can't hear.
I can't hear? Yeah. Oh my God. What the fuck have I been doing then?
My students don't know about this channel.
There you go.
I'll never tell them.
But yeah, and then for her to be the one at the end that I get Indy. I get him not wanting to go back because they destroyed his character to the point that he literally has nothing to live for. He has nothing in the present because of what they did to his character from the very beginning of this movie. So I get maybe he not wanting to go back. That's a problem with the movie, in my opinion. But there's no way that once Indiana Jones realizes that he would change the course of history by staying, that Indiana Jones, the guy since he was a Cub Scout, who's saying, hey, we have to get that cross back from these guys because it belongs in a museum. We need to preserve history, all of these things. There's no amount of writing. There's no amount of acting. There's nothing that you could do to convince me that Indiana Jones would ever make that decision.
Well, here's my take on
altering history.
I thought, I could be wrong, that he was just, his plan was he was dying and just sit there and bleed out, stay alive for another 10 minutes and just watch history. Not that he would stay there and hang out with the Romans and help them build teepees or whatever the Romans lived in.
That he was going to die.
Yeah, that he's only going to be there about 10, 15 minutes anyway. And that's how he is in Last Crusade. He almost gives his life up for the one thing he wants so bad in his life, but his father, brings him back. She brings him back like Henry did.
Well, she punched. No, Henry
can bring him back literally.
Henry wakes him up. Henry wakes him up and is like, "Hey."
The opposite.
Yeah. She brought him back by
She hit
him in the face.
He didn't come to that conclusion himself.
No.
She knocked him in the face. And even when they were back, even when he's back in his bed, he walks out into his living room and she's like, well, you would have changed history. And he's like, for what? Who cares? What do I have to live for? Even to that point. Until you get an old Karen Allen walking through the door, then he's all like, oh, yeah, pop the Viagra.
Yeah. He's like,
so I didn't like the going back in time. It took me out of it a lot like the aliens did in Crystal Skull. And I was like, what the heck am I watching? But the moment where he's in his apartment, Karen Allen walks in, Marion, that was great. And the very final scene is what got me.
Yeah.
Him still grabbing the hat. I was like, man, I had
you didn't know she was in it, right, Coach? Because that wasn't really a spoiler. She was cast. So I mean,
my fingers were crossed the whole time, wanting to see Short Round.
Yeah, Short Round. No.
And Ryan said something just a minute ago. I can't even remember what, but he made me about the sidekicks that are there, and sometimes they even rescue Indy. I was watching Temple of Doom the other day. My favorite of all the Indiana Jones movies, one of my favorite films of all time. And the scene where Indy and Willie are falling at the beginning of the movie and they land in Short Round in the car.
In the car.
I'm like, man, if that was 43-year-old me watching that for the first time, I would seriously have a problem with that. It gets a pass because I watched it when I was 6, or whatever.
There is, and I talk about this when it comes to the fridge scene in Crystal Skull, which is outlandish, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's outlandish, but this is Indiana Jones. There's some outlandish things that happen. You kind of mentioned one of them. There's another one in that same movie in the first 30 minutes where from thousands of feet in the air, they take the raft out and,
goodness.
That's outlandish.
Yeah.
And, so that's part of Indiana Jones.
That's true.
So that, that's one of the reasons the fridge scene didn't bother me too much. More after was like the amount of radiation he would have been exposed to. Like Indiana Jones in reality, it should be like he has cancer and he's dead. That's what it really should be. That's what this movie should have been.
So for the record, I didn't hate the refrigerator scene either.
Listen, I would rather see Indiana Jones in a refrigerator than I would babies in a microwave. Right, in guys, it's the things that we can put in appliances. I would rather see Indiana Jones in the fridge.
So, of all Indiana Jones movies, I will say that this one has probably the thing that I think was the dumbest and the worst, and it is just simply this: the antagonist. And I like the movie, guys. The antagonist of the film was defeated by continental drift.
That's not true at all, actually. The continental drift, like that isn't even important. That's the whole thing about this. They were never going anywhere other than right back to that time because that's how Archimedes had designed it, because he had designed it knowing that they would need that help. So
no matter what, he was going back to that moment.
Only worked that time period. It was a force.
So Indy was wrong.
Well, Indy was right, meaning like if it had worked the way that the Nazis thought it would, since he hadn't anticipated continental drift, they probably would have ended up at that time period, but over like who knows, like Russia or something. That's like the theory. So that line really didn't matter. To be honest with you,
it was to fool us, I think, to make us say we're.
I don't understand how the Dial of Destiny works. Like.
Yeah,
I don't understand how is he setting it to think he's going back to 39. Like that's something that is like they left a lot to be understood when it comes to that. Like there's 2 dials and they just like kind of move themselves. So I don't understand how he thought he was going back to 1939. I did like the idea of him being like, no, Hitler did it wrong. We don't have to save Hitler. We need to go back and kill Hitler. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like that. And I was worried they were going to go to 1939. And when they were going through that porter, I was like, oh God, please don't go to 1939. So I like that. I like that in the Roman time better than German time.
Well, I thought we were going to end up seeing the young Indiana Jones when he went back in time. I thought that was what it was.
And just because it always, Ryan, just because it always has to be addressed, the obligatory "why your picture's crooked" comment has to be addressed.
All right,
every damn time.
It's continental drift. All right, that's what it is.
For real this time.
Because I'm at an angle and because this corner is like right all the way on this side, the vanishing point of it looks different. This is level. That's level. All right, I promise. I got a level somewhere. I proved it the other day. Oh, here it is. Fuck.
This happens all the time. That's why the level.
Your camera's not level. Is that what it is? Your camera needs to be level.
I was wrong. Now it's level. It's actually worse. I have to move it the other way to get it actually level.
Oh, that's funny. All right, people saying Indy was a lot like Han Solo in this movie. Thoughts?
Yes. So that to me is my biggest problem with the movie, and it happens to be the premise of the movie. Which, if you don't like that, you're probably not going to like the rest of the movie. Which is, to me, they took Indiana Jones. Say what you will about Crystal Skull, all you haters here. The first half of that movie is, I think it's an Indiana Jones movie, and I really enjoy it. Second half, parts of it go off the rails. I hated the alien thing, but the ending.
I was Junkman. When the monkeys show up, I'm out.
I hated the monkey thing. That was a 5-second scene, like whatever.
But I'm just saying, after that,
out to the end of the movie is just
Ox. To be honest, once you find Ox, I have problems with the movie because
I always say when Marion comes in, about the time I start losing interest in it.
Because there too many people are involved and are going along, and Ox is such a dumb, silly character that I think that it just becomes a problem. I think there's good moments and great action set pieces other than the monkeys, in between those times. And then Mac ends up with them too. There's too many people. There's too many people following Indiana Jones around. I think that's really what the issue ends up being. But regardless of what you feel about it, at the end, he's reunited with Marion. He has this family that he never. It's not like you felt like he was missing that, really. You could tell he missed his dad. You could tell he missed Brody, but it's not like his life was incomplete or unfulfilled or something. It was something that he didn't realize he wanted that he got at the end of that movie. It's not like he was so upset until these things happen, but he has a happy ending. After walking down the aisle, you get the little hat scene. He rips it away from Mutt and he goes off into the sunset. That's such a great ending. And to destroy that ending in this way, making him a sad alcoholic.
He's not an alcoholic.
He's an alcoholic. He's
drunk. I mean, at least appeared to be a drunk. I mean,
I didn't even see him drunk.
Maybe he fell asleep with a glass in his hand, and then he woke up and had a glass, right?
Well, my dad used to do that, beat us, but we wouldn't call him alcoholic.
To be fair, I've probably drank like weeks straight, so maybe I am too. But what I'm saying is, like, he's just so torn down. His life is pointless. Nobody listens to his lectures, and he doesn't even care. Like, he's just past it. It's like the world's passed him by, and he just is ready to die. And it's
the day of his retirement too.
Yeah,
like he's done
his retirement,
and that's how we're all going to feel at 80. Although he's 70 in the movie.
I hope so.
But I know it was a plot point, but I have to say honestly, the whole college professor business that they did, to me, rang really, really, really hollowly. Only so much as people aren't taking an archaeology class as a requirement. They're taking it because they want to be there, right? And so the whole okay, they're falling asleep and he's up there doing his thing or whatever and all that. Yeah, he's getting ready to retire. I just didn't. I really, again, I understand why they did it from a pure plot perspective, and that's when they introduced the Battle of Syracuse and were telegraphing the way it was going to end and all the rest of it. Okay, right? But and she was, of course, there, in the class as well to be introduced. But the rest of it, I'm kind of like, this is not the kind of class he would be teaching at that point in his career.
But that's the type of students you probably had in 1960 something, 69. Space races going on. Everybody's excited about the moon. And you got these college students who don't care about nothing.
Indiana Jones has literally seen evidence of aliens on Earth. Would he not be the first one excited about the space race? Would he not be the one who would be like,
no, it was like, I already know about the aliens.
We're going to watch this shit because I know I have seen this. And there was there. It is like they did forget some of the franchise lore. Oh, I love his avatar. Like they forgot some of the franchise lore very conveniently to try and make a plot point. And I'm like, it's weird given the last movie that we got that he wouldn't be more into it.
Well, were they watching the moon landing or was this after they came back?
It was after they came back because he passes the astronauts.
That's
like
right.
He passes Buzz Aldrin.
This is after they came back.
Well, I think we would want to watch the landing. Okay.
But I think that I don't know why they moved him to New York City or whatever.
Right, so they can do that parade scene.
Yeah, like that almost seems to be the case. It's like you took Indy out of the place we've seen him his entire career. And like
Last Crusade, the school in Last Crusade and Raiders aren't the same school. I know a lot of people think it is, but it's not.
It's not.
Neither one is New York.
No,
it's not the same school.
No.
Why?
One's Marshall College and the other one's not.
Say it again.
One's Marshall College, named after Frank Marshall.
One?
I don't know the name of the one. The Raiders is called something else.
And then he's back at the other one for.
Yeah, I might have this swapped out.
Are you sure that's canon though? Like.
It was at the time. I don't know. I think they screwed up. I don't know if they fixed it in canon or what.
To me, it feels like in Crusade, it's intended to be that one.
Yeah, I always thought it was too. Yeah.
That certainly seems to be what it's intended to be. And then obviously he's back at that same one because they've got the statue of Marcus in there for Crystal Skull. But anyway, to move him to there, and they're like, hey, he's been here 10 years or whatever. And it just seemed like a strange thing to do for no apparent reason, unless they wanted a big city to do that parade in, because there was no other plot reason to do it.
Well, and then they put him in when they put him in the room where she locked him away. If you look closely, like the blue vase that Sean Connery was holding in The Last Crusade is in there on a shelf. It's almost like
some Easter eggs in there, yeah.
Yeah,
the one that was fake, right? The one that was a reproduction.
Yeah,
in Dynasty, 14th century.
It's almost like we're led to believe that somehow they recruited him and his legacy to come and teach there, in his twilight years, which again is another reason why I have a huge problem with his portrayal as a teacher. And then again, this whole I just other than plot convenience, I don't understand why he wouldn't have been more excited about what the parade and everything was all about. It just, that part of it just didn't really make sense to me.
I got to say, like, 80-year-old professor probably going to let some things slide that he wouldn't have let slide 40 years before. I experienced that in my basketball coaching career. My players that I coached early on in my career that saw me in my last couple of years were like, man, he never would have let us get away with that. Like, they came up to me after the games and were like, I can't believe you let them do that, or whatever. Missed a dunk, or whatever. You'd have taken us out and killed us, or whatever.
Now is he still part-time?
Yeah.
He wasn't in Crystal Skull.
Part-time.
Part-time, yeah.
That was a good scene, but it seems like the trailer was
trailer was better. Yeah, the trailer has a better cut. I don't know why they went with that.
Yeah,
yeah. And in the movies, like part-time, and like the trailer's just like part-time. It just a little more cool, I guess.
Yeah, just hold on him too long. There's like too much space in between. It like just stands there.
I still kind of don't understand who that one like spider monkey guy was that was trying to kill him there. But
and they were just hanging out there all the time.
I don't really understand that.
You can't think too much about Indiana Jones movies. You
can't think too much.
You can't.
Well, this is what I was saying. Like, Indiana Jones movies are paint by the numbers. They're formulaic. You just got to start off with a 10 or 15 minute really cool action sequence. And then you got to go back to the college, and you know what I mean, stuff like this. Now, Temple is really the only one that doesn't, like, ironic because it was one of only 3 when this formula, became a formula. But it's the only one that doesn't follow that formula to the T. But to me, an Indiana Jones movie should be easy to do, I think. Like, if you
certainly shouldn't cost over certainly shouldn't cost over $300 million.
Whoever did that should be fired.
Well, KK, again, you're on the right thing. You're on the right thing now.
Hey, I made two videos that she needs to be let go. So.
You said 3 on Twitter the other day.
Yeah, you said lying? 3 today. You said 3 today.
Okay, I can't. Okay, 3. I'm testing y'all.
Right.
Just testing to see who reads his tweets.
By the way, Junkman, according to the Indiana Jones fandom site, it was Marshall College at all movies.
No, I just looked it up. It was Universal Chicago in the first one.
That's where he studied. That's where he studied with.
I'm going to go watch the movies. I will be tweeting this out that y'all are wrong.
No, he studied it. He studied at Chicago with Abner.
Yeah,
Abner Ravenwood.
Okay, maybe I read that wrong.
That's where he did his research.
6 hours from now, we'll watch for Junk after he's finished the first 3 movies.
Oh, I'll tweet it for 2 days if I'm right.
The thing that doesn't make any sense.
I know it don't make sense. It already bothered me why they changed
it. Because obviously Brody is in it, like he's in both of them. So it doesn't make any sense if Brody was also at a different college with him in Last Crusade. So it doesn't make any sense to me.
So speaking of returning characters, Coach, before we get to the replacement short round, what were y'all's thoughts on Sala and the role Sala played here and seeing that character back again? Did that work?
I think so. He was a little jarring to me in the beginning. He didn't sound like himself at all. He sounded more like Gimli the first time we seen him. But then when he comes back the second time, he had that deeper, more bravado voice, like when he was singing about the sea and all, and all that stuff.
The song was that.
Right. So he was more himself the second time around. So I will say that.
It ain't gonna focus.
What about you guys?
That's Barrett College, and from one of the movies.
Barrett.
Oh, focus, you bitch.
Barnett. It says
Barnett.
Whatever that one is.
What is Barnett College?
I don't know. I guess we shouldn't worry about it right now.
I don't know, Coach. I think I'm still a little. Yeah, for some reason, when I saw Sala at the beginning, it also made me a little bit sad. But maybe it's just because I felt like he didn't age well, and maybe when we're that age, people will say we haven't aged well, right? I know there's been some feedback about Marion not having aged well, and some of the rest of that too. But there was just something I found about him at the very beginning that did give me a little sadness. I'm with you. By the time we saw him again later, it was better, and I'm glad that he was in the film, and I know he was so excited to be back. But there was just something about it that was a little off-putting when I saw him the first time in the picture.
Ironically, I didn't mind that at all.
Yeah, I loved him. I loved him in it. I wish he was in it more.
Now it was a little bit. It would have been off-putting to see him running out of that cab and like. But the problem was you saw Indy do that old man shuffle the entire. Yeah,
he was like the
movie.
Yeah.
Never saw him run. Just the first step or the last step. You know,
he always walked like he pooped his pants.
You saw a couple Indy runs, and listen.
I never saw him run.
There's a couple runs, and there's a couple runs down streets and stuff, and you can tell he looks old as hell. And kudos to Harrison Ford. As much as I did not like this movie, I think he gives a really good performance, and obviously a lot of the physical stuff he was doing. Yeah. There's a lot of stories about him on the horse and like all of these things already.
Too old to be on the horse, Coach. Too old to be on the horse.
Oh boy, here we go again.
Yeah, because I think he was like they got done shooting the scene and he was supposed to get off the horse, and a couple guys came to get him, and he's like, "Get your fucking hands off me! Yeah. I want to look like an old man." Like that's what he said. So
yeah, leave me on the horse.
Yep, he mission accomplished. there.
What about what about the replacement short round? We were going to talk about that actor.
What is his name? Does anybody remember? Rodrigo or something? I don't know.
Don't even remember. Thought it was Harry.
Oh,
or
Toby. They
like
say it 25 times and they scream it. It gets on my nerves.
Colby?
I thought they were talking about basketball.
Or Tommy or Toby or Toby or
it's
one
not
that got on my nerves.
It's probably Toby. It's not Kobe.
No.
I would have thought.
It
Toby
got on my
is the
nerves.
name of the
I know.
actor who plays Helena's dad.
So
That's Toby.
the character, it took me like half of the movie before I realized that was his role because he was so forgettable. And once I realized, oh, this is the new short round, he just didn't work for me. It just didn't. He was a throwaway character for me completely.
Yeah, like
I didn't like him. He was only there so they could have some way to get Indy back.
yeah, but that's the wild thing is who's that other guy? The other guy that came with them who
The one that
woke
was
up in
sleeping
the
in the
plane. That
He was there
had-
to fly it because the kid didn't know how, so they had to write him into the story somehow to explain how he could fly it.
Yeah, so then you didn't need the kid then. So it's like, what is that? I am more interested to know what that dude is thinking now. This guy who is not involved with anything, who wakes up passing this like time warp where he ends up in ancient Greece and then has to pick up a couple people and fly back. Like, I want to know what that guy was telling everybody after this.
Teddy.
He just dumped him
Teddy.
Teddy,
Teddy.
that's right.
Teddy.
None of us knew. None of us remembered.
I had to go to
I get
IMDb.
1 point.
He's a forgettable character.
Ethan Isidore is the actor, and the name of the character was Teddy.
I know my son hated it, and he was Teddy, I hate Teddy. He was going through that. So,
Yeah,
How
he
old
was-
is your
I should
son,
remember.
Junkman?
17.
Okay.
Hated Teddy.
I found him also to be supremely unlikable. And I know what they were trying to do, and that, she was his sidekick and he was her sidekick. And then obviously he did play such a huge role with that. Again, Ryan's right. That poor pilot. It's like, what the hell did I get myself into? I'm just trying to find my fucking plane. And all of a sudden
I'm wrong.
just get me back out of here.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. But yeah, he just didn't work for me.
Wait, it wasn't needed. Even when he's kidnapped, they don't go look for him or nothing. So it's like we don't know what to do with him, so let's have him kidnapped.
Speaking of the dial again, Matt, you just brought it up. I'm still blown away. Like, I sat there and watched the movie, and I mean, I've got 2 college degrees. I think I'm pretty bright.
You're a history teacher, by the way.
I know. And I didn't even realize watching the film that the dial would take them back to that moment no matter what.
Yeah.
She says it's a four. She refers
Now,
to it as a force.
after Ryan says that, I guess that's now why Archimedes walks up and doesn't look shocked.
He said, no, Archimedes actually said in the movie, you were always destined to come to this time.
That's right.
And I had this argument on FNT too, because it's I don't want to say it's blink and you miss it, but this was always supposed to happen. Archimedes made this thing so that people could come back and help because he knew they were going to lose. Because on the tomb, there is the dragon with propellers, right? He's wearing the watch that he finds in that wreck when Indy finds his tomb. So this was always something that was supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So that's how the time travel works in this.
And
one.
that's the problem.
Either I'm not smart enough, or Mangold could have explained that a little better.
Well, but it's
a lot going on when you first see it. That's why I liked it the second time better. There's a lot.
Someone says sounds like they were. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. There's also the trap you get into in these weirdly cyclical, esoterically, oh, I'm so smart. This whole the way it all wraps together, and it's always the way it was going to happen. And what came first, the chicken or the dial, and all of these. It's very easy to get turned around because when you think. It doesn't make any sense, right? This whole notional concept of going back and starting there and how did we get there to begin with and we're back and you're always supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So that's why I do think it's one of those movies you have to watch more than one time.
Yeah. And ain't that about every time travel movie? There's always problems with time travel movie. And this one's probably the least trouble I could think of.
Yeah, because they didn't. there's really no time travel elements. It's like a closed thing. So despite what people may have thought, and before we get to Nikki's question, which she really wanted to answer because she put it in there twice. I Am Siler said sounds like it's setting up to leave Indy in the past. They weren't, though, because Karen Allen gave an interview to Variety where she actually said that 6 months before shooting in the script was when it showed her coming back and having that last scene with Indy. So they were never setting it up for that. In the script, she got 6 months before shooting. I don't care about any reshoots or whatever. Karen Allen was always returning at the end to be with old Indy. So
thank you. See, that's why I like Ryan, because I say that on Twitter and people yell at me and say, "No, that's a new ending."
All right, Nikki, good point, Ryan. Nikki, question for the panel: was the CGI deepfake an improvement from Luke in Book of Boba Fett? I would say yes.
Yes.
But I heard people say this, so this is not like this wasn't me coming up with this. I guess maybe that's why it was so dark the first 30 minutes of the film.
100%.
So it was hard. It was hard to see many times, but they pulled it off.
So
Luke didn't do much, so it was easier probably to do Luke, but he's standing around more.
That's the thing.
Look, Luke's hair didn't even look right. Like he looked like a
schoolboy haircut.
1992. Got the part and stuff going. It didn't work.
So what I will say is that I think overall, in totality, it's worse, but it's only because of all the stuff they did with him. When they take his thing off and the bag off in the beginning, he looks great. Like he really does look incredible. And then he opens his mouth and it's like, oh, you're 80 years old.
Yeah, that's something that threw me off the voice. I don't know why they
the voice didn't match. But unfortunately, like they specifically hid Luke. Anytime he moved, his back was to the camera. Like they didn't want to show him walking. And they did that for a reason, because once Indy gets in motion in this, it looks wonky, to me at least. And I do think that's why they kept it so dark. Like I imagine just from a level of difficulty, this was probably like loads and loads higher than what they did with Luke. But I think like there's a lot of bad in it to go along with the stuff that's
I didn't notice
really, really good.
I don't notice that stuff. I try not to look at its face.
Well, also I think what this de-aging had going for it that the whole Luke sequence hasn't is there was a lot of other things going on around the character here.
Correct.
Right, on that train scene and all the rest of it. And
not just Forrest.
And when we were really focused on Luke, he was around a lot of things that were quite stationary. Yeah. And so it was really, to me, it was really very, very noticeable because you weren't going to be focusing on the stationary things. You were looking at Luke. Like here, lots of things were going on, whether it was him or his sidekick or the Nazis or the train was moving or, all those things were happening.
All the different times he had to pretend to be a Nazi in the first, 15 minutes, 5 times he pretends to be a Nazi. That is
true. Yeah, that is. But again, even in those scenes, right, there was a lot of other real people around him that you could focus on. That for me, it distracted you from the fact that it was this big business. For me, it was when I heard the voice that I was like, well, you did all this other stuff and you couldn't do something that. I mean, we've got people changing their voice all the time on YouTube for cheap, right? You can't do something. You can't do.
And didn't they change Vader's voice in Obi-Wan? Didn't they make Vader sound younger in Obi-Wan when he was James Earl Jones' voice?
Yes, they did the same thing with Luke. That wasn't Mark Hamill talking.
I don't know why
in Book of Boba Fett or Mandalorian, it was a computer.
Yeah, that's the easiest thing to do.
They created Hamill's voice, and it sounded. Especially in The Mandalorian, he sounded perfect. Why could they not do that with Harrison Ford? Because it's Harrison Ford. They watched the same thing we did.
And it was also these things are like small kind of critiques, to be honest with you, in terms of the CGI and the voice and everything. Overall, the first 15 or 20 minutes is if I went to Chat GPT or whatever, and I was like, hey, write me the opening sequence to an Indiana Jones movie. A little bit soulless, a little bit repetitive, but a facsimile of what it would be. That's kind of what this was. And it wasn't terrible. There was some, there was some crazy stuff that happened. The fact that the Nazis, were willing to hang him up there instead of shoot him, was a little weird. Maybe they're running low on bullets after losing the war. I'm not sure. But then you get like I don't have as big of problems with that scene of the bomb coming down, because that to me is like a little bit of a quirky Indiana Jones scene.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So I was kind of okay with that. I'm not sure how he didn't die, you know, when that thing blew up and everyone else died.
Well,
He was just high enough that he didn't die, I guess, because he was hanging. But
for me, the barrier to entry on Indiana Jones Nazi quirkiness is Hitler signing the diary. You know, if we have Hitler signing the diary,
I am
in that
more
movie-
interested in that story. I want to know how much Indy sold that for.
You know
That's
what I
what I
mean,
want to
bro?
know.
So,
What?
but
If you have an autograph from Adolf Hitler in a thing that tells you how to find the Holy Grail, but you're living in a 1-bedroom apartment in New
No,
York,
it's in a museum.
probably
He's not going to sell anything.
it's probably
That's
locked
true.
away in that room that she
Yeah, that
dropped
room.
all the bookcases over in. That's what I mean. It's like, what?
You mean his treasure trove of things that's locked with like a little padlock and a
Yeah.
chain link fence, like a
Yeah.
little gate? But he destroyed everything in there pretty much, except for the dial, half of the
That
dial.
wasn't nothing good in there.
A lot of treasure he's destroying. I don't know.
What's this dude he put an Ark in a warehouse? He didn't put it in there.
Why can't I see the chat?
Those were
Why-
top men.
Government
Top
put it
men.
there.
Those were
That's
top
right.
men. All right.
Hmm.
Now he did walk right
Noble
past
Vaughn,
it.
yeah. Would you recommend it? See it? Oh, he said, see it, stream it, skip it.
I would definitely see it.
See it. It ain't gonna hurt. People act like it gives them cancer if they go see it. You go see it, it ain't no good. You waste what,
Look,
$10?
this movie's flopping hundreds of millions of dollars no matter whether you go see it or not.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I would skip it. Well, what if it only loses 200 million? KK might keep her job though, Coach. It has to hit 250.
Oh my God, Sparrow! Sparrow!
It has to-
Sparrow!
Beat John-
quit it!
Sparrow!
It has to
Sparrow!
beat John Carter's loss for Disney for them to think about firing her.
Oh, I
thought
she was
you're too
already-
short right there.
I thought she already was going. At least that
Yeah,
was the
she
rumor.
tried to send me an email the other day, and apparently her company email didn't work. So I don't know.
She's still on the webpage. I check every hour just to see if she's still on the webpage.
Oh
Still
my
there.
goodness.
Still there.
Chat, let us know. Do you agree, disagree? Thoughts on Indy?
No, I thought we were going to argue more.
Let's Coach, let's ask
What do
the
you want to argue
chat.
about?
Chat,
It sounds
how-
like Ryan kind of liked the movie to me.
I think he
What are you
can't say
talking
it.
about?
He knows Gary. He knows
What
Neurotic.
reaction are you
He's going to
listening
kick him out.
Wait, for folks in the chat, if you've seen it, just out of curiosity, put a 1 in the chat if you've seen it. Put a 0 in the chat if you've not seen it. I'm just curious how many people here have actually. We got 70 people here. How many people have seen it?
Nikki asked if the movie needed a deep fake flashback at all. Could the movie have worked without one? I kind of would almost say that you needed it because you need the opening action sequence. And I hear myself on Junkman's phone.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, I'll put it up. Sorry.
It's all right. What was I saying? Oh, because you need that opening big set piece action sequence. And I don't know if it's because we saw Harrison Ford's action sequences in this movie, and it pretty much came down to I'm going to drive cars or boats or whatever, and not really get involved too much. Now, he punched some guys for sure. He did some stuff, but it wasn't to that level that you kind of need for an over-the-top indie action sequence. So, I mean, unless they wanted to do it when he was a kid or something, or recast, or maybe have Chris Pratt come in and do that.
No more Chris Pratt. No more Chris Pratt. So, Coach, we've had a few people in the chat who've seen it, and some other folks who haven't. Okay, some folks have seen
What did you guys think about the deep sea diving scene?
Is pointless, is stupid.
Oh,
Antonio
that was weird.
why was Antonio Banderas in this movie? You could have cut
At
that
all.
thing out.
Yeah.
And that
Well,
was
even if he's, I don't know why they cast him. That's just more to the budget to get a name actor for that. Makes no sense.
Anyone
don't-
could have done that. You know.
and I didn't know he was in it. So it's not like it was like promoted as Antonio Banderas makes his Indiana Jones 5 debut. Puss in Boots. Like, that's not what it was. It was literally, he's like, I got this old friend in Greece. He's got a boat. Don't worry.
Yeah, it could have been any actor.
And he just goes like this.
My favorite Antonio
Indy!
Banderas.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
is that Antonio
Yeah, well,
Banderas?
And so
Hey,
I knew he
Nate,
was, I knew he
Name
was
the
in
movie.
it.
Name the movie. Antonio Banderas. Here you go. Quote: I suck no dick.
What the fuck?
Ooh, we are on a different channel.
What?
Play it to the bone with Woody Harrelson. Anyways,
Oh wow.
he was like a gay or bisexual boxer.
So I knew he
See
was
that
in the
one.
I knew he was in the movie, and I kept waiting for him to show up, and then they got to that scene, and I'm like, oh really? I'm like, so this is how they have to find the second half of the damn thing, right? Is the him in the boat and all the rest of it? And then I was like, when are the Nazis going to show up in the submarine? And what happens? Nazis show up in the submarine? I was like,
I
oh,
wouldn't mind it if,
I hope they're going to show up in that Titanic submarine.
oh no, no, it's too soon. It's too soon.
I wouldn't mind if if the movie wasn't so long, but they didn't need to put the eel part in. It was already long enough.
They
We
could
should have had an.
We
We should have had an actual snake. I do have an issue. We didn't have an actual snake. And the eel part was so dumb. And the fact that he did nothing, he would have just died down there. He would have just died from an eel attack. If Helena hadn't, after she secured the actual prize, gone and helped him. It's like, it was so weird. That entire sequence was weird. And of course, Helena grabs a dynamite. Of course, Helena looking for another dude to fuck, just like she does it any good-looking guy in this movie. It was, that whole sequence was dumb. And the only time that is actually somewhat that Indy pushes back on her is when he's like, my friend died. After she saves them all and does all these things. But even after that, she just like hops right onto the next thing, is like, hey, let's fix this. And Indiana Jones gets distracted by melting wax off this old thing.
Well, I don't understand. When they're on the boat, it cuts to the scene of the map, shows where they're going. Then you got the bad guy with his binoculars, and he said they went west, and he knows exactly what port they went to.
Yeah, he knows that. That was so dumb, dude. Like,
that bothered me.
Now, again, formulaic. Always, in every Indiana Jones movie, with the exception of Temple of Doom, like, the bad guys, like, Indy's going to do the work, and then the bad guys are going to show up to cash in on the work he did.
Yeah.
We understand that. That happens. Usually ends up being Nazis. But that was so pathetically stupid. They could have had something like, they could have had Teddy, like Teddy, that little kid. They could have had Teddy try to contact them or something. Like, he was in it for the money because he'd been watching Helena, and then that's how Helena ends up. That's how she realizes how bad what she's been doing has been. Because look at what this kid is doing. That's because he's been following me around and learning from my example. Like, you could have done something like that that would have made more sense to have them find them, throw in a little betrayal, another redemption, make more sense as to why Helena is ready to change. I just think there's a lot of things could have been done so much better in the movie with not a lot of effort.
Yeah, because for me, I think for some reason, and maybe there was one scene that was supposed to be that trigger scene, right? But for some reason, something happened. He said something, or she remembered something, and all of a sudden she went back to, okay, this is my godfather, is my father's best friend. It seemed like something snapped with her, and I'm still not exactly sure what it was, which means then again, I don't think they did a great job of showing what gave her that change in heart. I don't know. I don't know what it was.
And they should have had her on the second plane instead of that motorcycle scene.
Yeah.
And not put Teddy in the plane.
And again, for everybody that's like, he was just going to die there. He'd been shot for hours at this point. All right. Fine. He was fighting on the plane. He grabbed someone. He put a parachute on, grabs Helena. He wasn't going to die. He would have probably died, in a couple days or something if he didn't get help. But it's not like he was going to keel over 10 minutes after introducing himself to Archimedes. He wanted to learn from him and stuff. That's what he was saying.
I agree with that. I agree with what Ron's saying.
I don't think he was in his right mind. He lost a lot of blood.
He wasn't going to live 10 or 15 minutes, Junkman. I'm with Ryan on that one.
I didn't see the wound. I can't say.
I know that he was basically fine with it.
Well, I know he lost blood for about an hour and a half. So.
Certainly didn't seem to bother him when he was talking to Archimedes. Right?
When he was on the airplane and everything. I forgot he even got shot.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You forget that he's shot. Like by the time like they land the parachute and he's laying there and she's like, "Hey, we got to get back. We can fix that." You forget that he's been shot because it happened so long ago and he's been fine.
Ryan,
Yeah,
how
make sure
many
they get
times did
shot
you see
closer.
this movie?
I watched it once.
Man, your recall is like
Yeah, it's
top
good.
notch, dude. Like you're sitting here saying stuff like, "Oh yeah, I
It's
just
a
saw it last
blessing
night."
and a curse.
He
Like,
should have
your
got shot
recall
when he was jumping out of the plane.
up there.
That would have been better.
Yeah.
But he gets shot in the tomb, and then
I was in the tomb.
Yeah, he gets shot
It
in the
was a
tomb.
minute ago. He's right. It was a minute ago that he got shot.
Okay, I dropped my 7.5 to 7.
So, what did you guys think about the tomb scene? They definitely had callbacks to Temple of Doom in there.
Oh, I liked it.
With the
I liked
bugs and all
I
that
hated
stuff.
the
I thought that was
bugs. I
pretty
hated
good.
the CGI
it.
bugs.
Knocking
The
it
bugs
off.
were
knocking the
CGI.
bugs off. Yeah.
Ugh.
The bugs were CGI.
Why couldn't they put real bugs on them? They spent $300 million.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge didn't want to harm any insects.
They could have put a double body and CGI'd her head with some real bugs on it or something.
Watching the movie, even though that scene felt like a Temple of Doom callback, this movie to me felt more like a Last Crusade. They're going from this place to this place. They're on the water. They're in a town. They're, pretty much a little bit of everything.
There was some callbacks to the original. I mean, like Last Crusade, you had the run on a train, remind me of that. And it seemed like there was a bunch of little scenes that kind of triggered
That was
me.
like so that was real instead of just a Gumby-like dark figure of Harrison Ford CGI jumping that looked really horrifically bad. Yeah. I'm just saying. I think that there was too many chases. I do hear what you're saying about Last Crusade because that whole thing is they're on the run a lot in that one. And they are also either chasing or running a lot in this. And again, I think it might have been because Harrison's a little bit limited in what realistically this version of Indiana can do. So we got to have him hanging onto cars. We got to have him driving cars. We got to have him doing stuff like this instead of getting in on it so much. So of course we let Phoebe Waller-Bridge jump to the other car and start beating the shit out of some dude. Like a little bit far-fetched to me, but she punched a lot of people in this too. She's pretty tall, but I don't know how strong she is compared to a lot of those dudes. Can we talk about the black Nazi?
Is he a Nazi or CGI or CIA?
So it's CIA, right?
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh.
I thought I was going to hate her more.
She's
than I
upset
thought I was
about
gonna
some quote or something something in the script.
Oh no, she called him a cracker.
Yeah,
I thought I heard that a second time.
She's
one of the best lines I've heard from anybody, analyzing this film is that this is a film with Nazis in it, and the only person who uses a racial slur is the black woman against
she was
white
in the
people.
CIA though, right? In deference to her, she was clueless about them being Nazis.
I think she's CIA. That's kind of what it feels like. That wasn't super clear, but basically. Mads Mikkelsen, who Voller or something, I don't even know what his name is, but Mads Mikkelsen's character was a physicist who worked with the Nazis. I'm fine with this. He ended up working for NASA because these things actually did happen. When you look at some of the scientists, some of the people who are doing stuff like that for the Nazis in World War II. But he's surrounded himself with CIA agents, apparently all of them who are now on board with his Nazi scheme, except for the lone black woman who works for him. And she was like the evil CIA agent who was willing to like kill people, but not all people. You can't just fire a gun in the middle of the street. You get a problem with that. It was really weird. And she said cracker in the movie.
Yeah, I thought I heard that a second time. I thought I heard her call
cracker. It was Mads or someone. She called it cracker. It was so.
Yeah, I think it was the other agent guy. The one that.
Oh, the redneck guy. She called the redneck guy cracker.
Yeah. I think that's it. And that if it was just me, but that big guy looked like I thought that big guy was a CGI character for a few times.
He looked like a wrestler. He looked like a wrestler. Maybe he was. I don't know.
He looks so bad sometimes.
I thought we were gonna get a kind of callback to Raiders with that big dude that he had to fight in that gets propellered up. I thought we were gonna have a callback to that. Do you guys remember how that big guy died?
Yes,
I do. He got locked. Little kid locked him to the gate underwater.
He got pulled underwater by
the
someone who
handcuffs.
admittedly cannot swim. And it was Teddy. Teddy,
Yeah.
who said he can't swim earlier in the thing,
Yeah.
pulled him down in the water and locked him to a cage. And the biggest guy in the
And
movie
he
dies.
drowned.
Yeah, I think Indiana
Yeah.
Jones hit him twice, maybe 3 times in the film, and it didn't even phase the guy. The guy didn't even budge. And I was thinking after the second time, Indiana Jones is going to kill that guy. Like that's going to be a really good payoff. Didn't happen. So yeah, that one stands out to me for sure.
Yeah, he can never kill the big guy, but he always outsmarts him. Like, you know, with the mechanic, and then in Temple of Doom, he gets crushed by the Rock Crusher. So they should have something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
I forgot
saw
about
something-
that whole swimming handcuff scene.
All right,
Yeah, that was kind
Ryan, I don't know if this article came out.
Was the offensive scene when she used racial slurs?
Yeah, I don't
And
know.
James
Cut it out
Mangold
after
was like,
I-
no.
Wilson didn't disclose what exactly the problematic element was, so we don't know what it was.
She probably was going to call a character by the wrong pronoun.
No, no, no.
Hey, maybe we shouldn't do that vaguely problematic thing.
Why
that-
even write
that's
this
all we
article if
know.
they're not going to tell us?
Hell, I might make a video out of it.
Isn't that the girl that played Reva? No, it's not the same actress.
Oh, man.
It's not the
Oof,
same.
I would have left.
It's not.
Now this one actually had the decency to die, unlike Reva.
Yeah, she got shot and she actually did die. That's a good
Yeah.
point.
You think she died? Wait till she has her own movie. That's
Oh.
Kathleen
what
Kennedy's
was
next
her-
project.
What was her name?
I don't know. Afro lady.
I have no idea.
She needed an Afro pick. That's why I couldn't. It was the 60s.
She didn't have the big hair.
Yeah, she should have had the big Afro pick.
The hair was very period appropriate.
Foxy Cleopatra.
I ain't found shit.
Yeah.
It took y'all. It took
We've been
y'all.
looking for this dial and we ain't found
Yeah.
shit. You're not
Come on,
ass
wait,
taking us all the way out here. Like that would have been great.
That would have been good.
I would have loved that. And that's how she dies. She's mouthing off to the Nazi like that.
No, it's so bad. So bad.
Now, did y'all like the bad character? I can't remember. He's from the University of Alabama. So
Mads Mikkelsen, I thought he was awesome.
yeah, I thought he was really good. I liked.
I
Talking about Mads or the other guy that was with
Well,
Mads?
No, Mads.
Oh,
whatever
Mads.
his
I
name
like
was.
Mads.
I thought he was a good villain.
I really like Mads as an actor. I was underwhelmed by this performance because, like, I guess there's nothing. There was nothing like surprising at all in any way, shape, or form. In the very beginning of the movie, Mads Mikkelsen wants to use the Dial of Destiny to go back and stop Hitler from doing things the way that he did them because he failed. And literally you go 2.5 hours and there's never anything like, there's never any switch up. There's never any surprise. There's nothing. That's who the character is. And to me, that was very just super boring to me. So that left a lot to be desired as a villain.
How many years had passed in story from when Indy punched him to
1945 to 1969. So
24 years.
25 years.
So
Why didn't his
Yeah.
face have a big scar from that big pole hitting him in the face?
Yeah, I know,
Or
right?
even
He came through really unscathed from
Maybe
that.
showed it from the
pole.
back like it was going to reveal it, and he turned around real slow, and I was waiting for his face to be crushed in or something, and there it was.
I
Maybe he's
did think it
actually
was
a
kind of, and again, it's fantasy and it's fun and all that stuff and it's extreme, but Harrison or Indiana Jones has punched a whole lot of people.
And a lot
he didn't-
of them been Nazis.
He didn't see Mads Mikkelsen's character very long. Like I found that like, oh, there's no way he would recognize him, but I get it. I liked him calling him a Nazi and stuff.
But that guy didn't recognize Indiana Jones, did he?
I thought he
He
did.
looked old.
Not at first.
Okay, took a
Okay.
minute. Okay.
Yeah.
Indy's got a good memory. He took Alpha Brain. He invented it.
Yeah. Joe Rogan got him hooked. That's probably what happened. I think, again, I don't think that this I have a lot of bad things to say about it. I don't think it's the worst movie ever made. I think if I was to give it a score, it would be somewhere between like a 3 or a 4 or something like that. I think The Flash is a better movie than this. Let's see. And to me, a lot of it just comes back to the entire way that they decided to treat the character. And that's the movie, right? That's the plot of the movie, is a guy who has nothing, who has lost everything, his wife, his son, even his career. Like, the students just don't care. So he's lost that too. He's lost literally everything.
Yeah, he had a bad couple of months.
Maybe, yeah. Bad couple months, yeah. But he's lost everything. And he never even like does anything for himself, like along the way, to make him change his mind about that. In fact, until the last 2 minutes of the movie, he would rather just die. Like, he has nothing to live for. And it's not until what Phoebe Waller-Bridge does to bring him back, and what Phoebe Waller-Bridge does to get him back in contact with Marion, that through nothing of his own, through doing nothing by himself or for himself, that Indy gets to be happy again. I don't know. Fuck that movie. That's how I feel about it.
It was a good ending to the franchise. It was better than Crystal Skull ending. Ryan.
So what makes it better than Crystal Skull ending? Because Crystal
Skull
Skull
that point,
ending,
I was tired of the movie. I was glad it was over.
So, well, first of all, Crystal Skull, thank God, is only like 2 hours and 7 minutes long. But the end of this movie is kind of the same as the end of Crystal Skull, with the absence that they killed off Mutt, and Marion has just been gone for a while unless she comes back. How do you guys feel about that? How do you feel about them killing off Mutt in the war? Like, I'm
happened to a lot of people.
I'm not saying you have to have Shia in it. Okay, I'm not.
Yeah, I was about to say that was my point. I'm glad I didn't have to see him.
No more Shia LaDouche.
Yeah, like, you don't have to have him in the movie, but make him be an archaeologist now. Make him be in Egypt doing some random shit. Like, you don't have to kill him. No, you have to, because you have to destroy everything about Indiana Jones.
Wait a minute. Y'all didn't see the after credit scene when he pops up at a POW camp?
Oh God.
Man, y'all missed that.
No.
There was not an end credit scene, right?
McCain.
No, there was no end credit scene.
I didn't think there was.
Only John Williams music.
What did you guys think about the music in this? I was underwhelmed.
Yeah, I like the music.
I honestly can't remember it.
I can't remember anything.
It didn't leave a huge impression, and that's
I don't
why
pick up on stuff like that.
Someone was actually online. They're like, "Don't leave the credits. Stay and listen to John Williams' music before he's gone." I was like, I was ready to go, right? I was like, I had, you know what I mean? I was like, it was 2 hours and 30 some odd minutes. It was time.
My ass was tingling. I had to get up.
Yeah, it was time to get up.
They should have just done that post-credit scene, though. That would have been funny. And then Mutt and Phoebe Waller-Bridge fall in love.
Oh God.
It should have showed them a POW camp and her finding out. She's like, I gotta go get him. And then, puts the hat on it goes off.
It's like, oh, he's hot. I kind of want to fuck him. Let's rescue him.
I can fuck him and steal his what?
Oh my
goodness.
Come on, Toby. Or Toddy, whatever your name is.
Kobe.
I was just disappointed that she never wore his hat like she was supposed to. Where was Phoebe wearing his hat?
I must have not seen one of the 6 endings where she picks up the hat and the whip.
Somehow I heard it. Right, different endings.
Recast. They got redone all the time, so probably that one got reshot.
Wait, that was her hand that grabbed it off the wire.
Yeah, when she was in the street, right?
Yeah.
Junkman, you've been telling us a lot about all these reshoots.
There were 27 reshoots. That way, I can never be wrong.
Well, and the thing is, definitively, again, unless somebody will probably try to spin it like, well, all these actors were coached to say this. Karen Allen's in the movie for like 30 seconds. No one's coaching Karen Allen on anything to say about this. Again, 6 months before they started shooting this, which was what, in like 2020 or 2021 or whatever.
Yeah,
Whenever they started shooting, 6 months before that is when she got the script for this movie. And she said, I was really sad to find out that Mutt had been killed off as a character, but I was so happy that me and Indy got that ending. So this was always the ending.
Yeah.
Now, could they have done a little tweak here and there or whatever? Certainly. That happens in movies all the time. But the ending was always Indiana Jones and Marion both alive and well at the very last part of this movie. That was always the ending. Nothing different.
A guy in a mask told me there was a test screening and it ended different with her putting the hat on. He faded away and disappeared. I will say this too, because somebody in the chat's probably gonna say that John Williams said that there was a new ending. His quote is, they need him to do something. Maybe it's a new ending. So they leave out the maybe part. It bothers me.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was a
blur, and Twitter blew up, and everybody said, "Look, Doomcock's right." So I had to deal with that for a week.
Oh my God, Sparrow.
I had to deal with that. Junkman's, I had to deal with that. That was my assignment for the week after that.
Yes, it bothered me all day.
I see X-Wing in the chat. What's up, X-Wing?
Hey,
Did X-Wing like it? I'm always gonna assume
X-Wing doesn't go and see movies. He doesn't know nothing about
Has
it.
he seen Indy?
Hell no.
I bet he's bashed it though.
Hadn't bashed it. Hadn't seen it.
Oh, he hadn't even bashed it. Okay.
Look, I had people commenting on videos that had nothing to do with Indiana Jones. They're like, "You're a hater. You bashed Indiana Jones." I'm like, I hadn't even seen it. I'm talking about the box office, fool. It's a flop. No matter how you spin it, it's a failure. It doesn't matter if you think the movie's good or not.
Junkman, I have a question for you. Because I am the only one that reads your Twitter account, even though you tweet about fucking 50
They read it. They just act like they don't.
You've been saying something about merchandising, like a $400 million merchandising. What are you talking about when you're saying that?
I made that up.
Okay, all right. That's what I fucking thought. But
they pay a lot. They do charge a lot for the license rights for all these companies, but I kind of inflated the numbers on my own.
What did Brian just get you on exactly, Junkman?
Well, they sell the license rights to all these toy companies and the shirt companies and everything.
Yes,
so they made more than just the box office off of it.
So for the past couple weeks,
about 450 million.
He's like, before all these YouTubers come out and tell you Indy failed, just remember it's already made $450 million from merchandise.
Okay, maybe I inflated it a little bit, but nobody ever brings it up. No one says, "What about the $9 million they made?"
I might have inflated a little bit.
I'm inflated.
I fucking made that whole shit up, is what that means.
If Doomcock can do it, I can do it.
Coach.
Look, I can't tell you how many times Junkman has messaged me and said, I'm sorry, but when people talk about Star Wars or Indiana Jones, it's like you're talking about my mom." And I'm like,
yes. I think your Facebook group hates me.
Oh, they do. There's
one guy, not to bring up Doomcock again, but he posts every Doomcock video, and I comment on every one of them, and then he gets mad at me.
I'm sure
your Facebook group.
Look, Tony Yule posts every RK Outpost video, every Doomcock video. He posts them all, baby. Like,
he don't post my video.
Thank you, Tony.
No, he does not. Post your stuff.
There's a reason for that.
I dress up and do fake news too, but nobody cares when I have to do it.
I obviously cared about the fake news you were spreading right there.
He asked about it.
Got to reel you in.
Yeah.
Now my secret's out. I have to think of another one.
Listen, I care about facts. All right, my facts don't care about your feelings. So, I like people to have the correct information.
Yeah.
So if it seems like I end up saying something contrary to someone else, it's because I think that's probably very wrong. What's been out there? So.
It's okay. People are wrong every day. People shouldn't take that stuff
Some
personally.
people are wrong 100% of the time. But their fans still get on Twitter and tell me how right they are 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And then I go on for 6 hours on Twitter about it.
So Ryan gave it a 3 or a 4 out of 10, and the three of us gave it a 7. to a 7.5.
I was 7 and 5, but now after Ryan, I give it a 7.
Oh,
So-
he
so
knocked it
Ryan-
out. He knocked it
Ryan-
Yeah, he
out.
knocked me
brought
down
you
0.5.
down.
Yeah, he knocked me
Wow.
down 0.5.
Is there anything this movie could have done to make it a simple fix to
Woo,
make it
cut
better
20
for
minutes
you?
out of it. Cut
Well,
20, 30
make it
minutes
shorter.
out.
Cut the entire Antonio Banderas sequence on the boat. That's not necessary.
I agree.
But
Yeah.
I'm gonna sound, Nikki's gonna make fun of me in the chat because I've told this on other streams, whatever. But I've been saying this a couple times. There's a really easy way to make this movie better, and it has everything to do with my major complaint about where Indy's at in his life. How they took everything that like made him, you know, happy and fulfilled and all this stuff, and they removed it from it. They stripped it from him, and you have to change the way Phoebe Waller-Bridge interacts and acts towards Indiana Jones. But it's easy using like the same characters and the same stuff you already have. Okay, it's Indy is doing exactly what he's doing or what he's always done. He's teaching. He's happy. You can have Mutt again overdoing his Egypt thing, but Indy and Marion are happy together. He's at the twilight of his career. He's getting ready to retire, all of this stuff, and they're getting ready to like settle down and never worry about any of this stuff again. Helena Shaw, his goddaughter, comes to him and tries to pull the same exact shit she did in this movie. And instead of falling for it, he sees through it. And he's like, all right, kid, I'm not falling for this. There's obviously something more going on. Why don't you keep it straight with me? And she says, listen, I'll be honest. I made some big mistakes. I'm in with the wrong people. I thought that I was doing this for this reason, but I just got overwhelmed. And now I'm in big trouble. I have to find this or else I'm going to die. Like, I need you, Indiana Jones. Help me, Indiana Jones. You're my only hope. And he kind of, you know, doesn't necessarily want to get back in the saddle, but he goes to Marion and he says, listen, I know we thought I was done with this, but I have to go. She's Toby's daughter, for God's sake, like whatever, blah, blah, blah. And Marion, instead of bitching at him, instead of doing that, just fucking smiles and says, I knew what I was getting into when I married Indiana Jones, and like puts on his hat. Like, that is the easiest, most simple fix to make this one feel more like an Indiana Jones movie and fix the problem of where he's at in his life. He has a motivation to do this other than his life is destroyed and he's framed for murder or something. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character realizes that she needs his help and is forced to ask for his help because she can't do it on her own. In not some nefarious way, but in a way that she respects him and needs his help.
Gee, you thought about that all. You thought about that question.
So
Yeah,
Practicing all day for that.
that's a better movie. That's a better movie.
Well, it's better.
What
It sounds interesting. I'll say that.
what it
Well,
does come
he's a hero the whole time.
Well, seeing it and saying this too.
and what it does come down to, I think, on the same point is they didn't do a really great job selling at the first 30 to 35 minutes of him and his buddy, and it was, you know, Dial of Destiny adjacent, you know, there was some of that, but it didn't do a really good job sort of wrapping that up in a nice bow around how it all tied together when Phoebe showed up, and that she was the daughter of the guy that we just saw in the first bit, and blah 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 and whatever. As the movie went on, because gracious, you had enough time to think about it, right? As you went on for 2 hours plus and was able to reflect back to it, you were able to put those pieces together and say, okay, now I understand why it started the way it did, how we got here. Some of the flashbacks helped, and I'm like, I got there, but it did take a little bit of work to put all of that together in a way that's, to me, a little bit inconsistent with the normal experience of watching an Indiana Jones film. You know, they tend to be less complicated in how the story is stitched together and how you move through from beginning to end. This movie took for me, it took a little bit more engagement and more thinking than I think we're traditionally used to for these kinds of films. And I don't know, I'm not saying that necessarily makes it bad, but for me, it kind of highlights the fact that the story was a bit stitched together, and that part of it does show.
And I get what you're saying. I don't think it's a bad thing, but unfortunately, I don't think that it was done. Like, wasn't done in a good way. Like we just talked about the whole continental drift thing. That meant nothing. Like there's a lot of random stuff in this movie.
That was for us though. So we would be on the edge of our seat saying, what's going to happen? Where they're going. So we would be confused. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's enough to be on the edge of your seat thinking you're going back to 1939 to kill Hitler. Like,
yeah, I thought they was going. Was it just me? I thought they was going to end up when they saw that island. I said, "Oh God, if I see a damn dinosaur."
Oh, you thought there was going to be a dinosaur?
Yeah,
I didn't go there.
They coming back that far. I'm leaving.
Oh,
but yeah, I think it was too bloated. I think they had the wrong intentions from the beginning with what they wanted to show for Indy. You had a reuniting between Marion and Indy in the last fucking movie. Like, why is that your like resolution for this one? I don't know.
And coach, what is your opinion? What do you think? What would have made it a better movie for you?
I mean, people aren't going to like my answer, but if you had given me if you had been able to work in Short Round for a scene, hate to say it, I'd give it an 8 out of 10 just on that.
See, I think that I think the only reason people are saying that is because that Short Round actor in the last like year has become like a notable person again. And I don't know if that would be so at the forefront of so many people's minds if this movie had came out 2 years ago. You know, now people would have been, of course, people love Short Round, but that person, I forget his name, but he's been in the news and he's like, I would love to do this. I'd love for them to bring me back. And it was like, oh, they should have got these guys together. They took this picture together. So I don't know if that would feel the same way. If people would feel like they were craving that.
I would.
Yeah,
I would, but I definitely know what you're saying, and it's so much, in fact.
But you can take out.
I was going to say this article is on point, right? Yeah.
Mangold's even talked about it, and because the demand has been so high from the fans because of what he did in that movie, and Mangold basically said, "Look, couldn't bring him into the movie because he was filming a movie when we were filming this movie, and I really couldn't work him into the movie. He wasn't going to be my young sidekick." So, but he did even address that. So pretty interesting there.
It would have been cool if he was the sidekick, if he came to get Indy's help for something, to find the dial. If he's like, hey, I've been looking for this dial. The Nazis are after it. I need your help, Indy. That would have been kind of interesting. Maybe.
But would he be talking the same way? Maybe that's the reason they didn't want to include him. You know, Dr. Jones, Dr. Jones.
If he didn't talk the same way, it wouldn't be the same. So.
The Nazis got the dial. We have to go get them, Dr. Jones. Come on. Like, there ain't no way.
No time for love. Too old.
Yeah. Why you run like that? You not run like that last time I saw you.
You can't get it up.
You do a really good Short Round, both of you guys.
It's just an Asian person.
I do like the Short
Round. Oh my goodness. All right. Look, I
think I'm gonna
final
bounce.
thoughts.
So guys, I got a couple things. Oh, final thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys liked it. That's one of my final thoughts. Is I did not enjoy this movie. This movie's gonna lose a lot of fucking money. Because I think people just they weren't interested in what they saw. A lot of people shit on that Applebee's ad, but listen, guess what? Indiana Jones. There's a lot of old white people that are going to go see Indiana Jones. There's also old white people that eat at Applebee's. So I think that kind of makes
a lot of gray
sense.
hair at the theater.
Exactly.
It's going to take a lot of old white people to make this movie break even.
I think that kids don't care about Indiana Jones.
Unfortunately, the old white people have been told time and time again that Disney doesn't need them as an audience.
Yeah, Disney don't care about them, and the young don't care about Indiana Jones. You get a flop.
That's exactly right.
The recipe for disaster.
Should just put on Disney Plus.
But I'm glad you guys liked it. I think that you are disrespectful as hell towards Kingdom of the Crystal Skull to put this movie above it.
Give it a 5.
To put this movie above it, I think it's disrespectful.
Way above it.
I would. We all do, I guess. So
I think that's what everybody is saying. It's not that good, but it's better than Crystal.
Well, of the fucking 5 people that have actually seen this movie, maybe.
Well, 4 of the 5 are here. So
Yeah, most people don't care enough to see it.
You're forgetting that
It's hard to
450
argue.
million they made on license deals.
Yeah, I am
mad.
forgetting that.
Look, I will say that I like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull more than I think most critics do. But
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, it's
I don't hate it.
I don't know if I'll ever watch it again.
We're about to have a renaissance for Crystal Skull. I'm telling you
I
that
said that today on Twitter.
we're
That
about to
everybody's
have a
gonna find out
renaissance
what it is
for it
now.
because I think that a lot of people are gonna not have the same opinion as you guys, and that this one's a little bit better. I think people are gonna look back at that and be like, you know what? Despite its flaws, there was a lot of really good things about Crystal Skull and a lot of good moments, and it felt more like an indie movie to me. I think when we go back and look a year from now, I think Crystal Skull is gonna benefit from this.
So
And it's odd when I go back and look now, he
kinda
doesn't
like
look
the
old
prequels
anymore.
a little bit.
Yes, it's like the prequels.
oh, not like the Phantom Menace though.
Yeah,
Unredeemable.
that'll never be better.
No.
And in 20 years, they'll like the sequel.
Guys, what Star Wars movie have you watched more than any other?
Oh,
Goodbye.
shit.
Maybe Star Wars. Probably Star Wars for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Probably Jedi, because when I was a kid, that was my favorite.
Oh,
Mm.
no, don't say
Empire, I watch as an adult more.
that. I think for me, Empire probably is just a hair more than A New Hope.
I will say this. I think Ryan said it. I like Attack of the Clones. It gets too much hate.
I like Attack of the
I
Clones.
like Attack of the
I
Clones.
like
Better than
Attack of the
Phantom
Clones.
Menace.
I have
Okay.
watched Attack of the Clones more than any other Star Wars movie.
I thought he was going to say that. Yeah.
So
I like it. I don't see nothing bad in
certainly
Anakin's acting either. I don't.
It
it don't
certainly
bother me.
beats the pants off Phantom Menace. I've watched Attack of the Clones a gazillion times more than a fucking Phantom Menace. Jeez Louise.
for me, it was more exciting when I was a kid because I was born in '88, so I was like 14 or whatever, I guess.
Dude, when Yoda unfolded the cloak and the lightsaber came over and ignited,
dude, the audience went wild.
Yeah.
for
went
that.
nuts. Went nuts.
I haven't seen anyone that excited at theater since I saw Ray light up that lightsaber. That's when everybody. I thought everybody. Man, everybody was like, "Yeah, the Skywalkers are back. The Skywalkers are
We're
back."
shutting it down on that one.
You mean at the end of Rise of Skywalker, right?
Oh yeah.
Because that's when people thought she was going to kill herself on the farm. That's why people got excited when she ignited that lightsaber.
Who are you? If she killed that old lady, I would have loved that movie.
We got to end it, Coach. I'm getting canceled about the Phantom Menace one more time in a chat.
No.
This is a very consistent experience.
Oh,
about
look,
being a
look, the
fan of
chat's
I
going
don't know
to be
who that
like,
old
yep, here
Who
we
the
go
fuck
again.
was that old lady in Rise of Skywalker, and why was she there at the Lars home?
Oh, nosy neighbor.
Yeah, like they're miles away from anything. She's like walking through like she's a homeless person with a cart. Like,
And
with
how
a-
would
with a
Ray even
camel.
know how to get there?
And nobody even saw her coming or nothing. You can see her coming.
She was just passing through. It's like, oh, what are you doing? You
And then
moving
she's like,
in?
"Who are you?"
Place? Who are you? It's like,
In a world where you could wake up tomorrow and identify as anybody and anything, she's a Skywalker.
I forgot somebody said
Like,
it.
mind your own
It should have
business.
been a character that we knew, like that last old woman. It should have been the woman that told Annie that her bones were aching. Like,
Yeah.
they should have at least done something like that.
Yeah.
Something. I'm not a Rise of Skywalker fan.
who is?
You're,
Well, somebody in the
you're-
chat
that
is
means you're
probably
toxic.
like,
I've seen it
man.
once.
Oh, toxic. Oh.
Mhm.
Yes, finally.
All right, guys. We're going to go ahead and end it. Thank you. Thank all you guys. Ryan, thanks for coming in, man. We had a blast with you. You didn't bring my score down at all, but great takes. Junkman,
I
you
just
shouldn't
took 5
be so
off 'cause he-
susceptible.
I just took 5 off because he reads my tweets.
Richmond, thank you. Chat, thank you
My
for being
pleasure,
here
brother.
on this little channel. I appreciate it very much. We'll see you guys next time, guys.